So this is a video of Lost Time. It is influenced by the persistence of memory by Salvador Dali for the game design theory, creating a game artifact as a response to an artwork. Salvador Dali has constructed this painting from his dreams. He also claimed that he could self-hallucinate. With this setting of a dream world, Dali's depiction of melting watches coupled with ants bring a sense of decay. Some have interpreted the melting clocks as a nod to his own mortality. The melting face is based upon Dali being the face of the dreamer in the dreamscape. The melting of these watches also signifies the rejection of the influence of time itself. And taking from this, it forms the basis for the game. My response to this is to create a puzzle game based in a 3-story mansion that acts like a maze, using the power of time to change the house. There are multiple states that the mansion can be in. The first state is the present, where the house has decayed over time. Other states are in the far past, where the house is in a maintained fashion. In each of these states, different areas of the house are accessible and blocked off. The player will be required to navigate their way to the top of the mansion. Lost Time will provide a means of satisfying the player's thirst for puzzle solving using the dream world's time manipulation. This time manipulation will bring a sense of awe and wonderment, giving the player the impression that time is fluid and can be controlled to help solve puzzles. The passage of time will be a spectacle that the player can immerse themselves in much like the spectacle of a building being demolished. I wanted to incorporate an hourglass item to act as a key, which would enable the player to transition between states. Being shown now is the blueprinting that allowed this to happen, with the Boolean being set to true once the hourglass is being picked up. I chose to accomplish this using the game instance to be able to reference each different blueprint easily. A different way that I could have done this is by having the hourglass item to hold the Boolean, which would be set to true once the hourglass is picked up. And so each blueprint using this Boolean would need to reference this hourglass blueprint individually, and this would in turn create additional variables. By using the game instance, there is less variables in use, and referencing the hourglass Boolean is easier. About to be shown next is an image of a portion of the level blueprint. The functions being shown here is how matinees are triggered to play and reverse, which acts as part of the state change. This works by checking if the hourglass is being picked up. If this is true, the first state is triggered. Using a flip-flop, the second state can be triggered to play, and this is the basis for the game looping between the two states. And while the player is transitioning between these states, they can progress to different areas of the mansion. To build this project, I had found the modular asset pack that I could use instead of modeling everything from scratch using Maya, as that was an option that didn't look feasible with the amount of time available for this project. Being shown now is another portion of the level blueprint. For this game, I wanted to give more feedback to the player. And my initial idea to do this was by creating a new set of textures and materials to use on the assets from the modular pack in one of the transitions. These textures and materials would convey the sense of decay to the player, giving them more information that they are in a particular state. This method proved to be too time-consuming for this project, and as a result of this, I thought that editing the post-processing would convey this state change adequately. To do this, I created 2 post-processing volumes, with each having different settings, using the timeline and a flip-flop to blend between the 2 volumes. Also in this blueprint is the function to stop the player switching between states while the state change is active. This works by disabling the player's input for the duration that the timeline is active. Additionally, I incorporated an hourglass symbol on the HUD that would play an animation while the state change is active. This would provide more information to the player about what is currently happening so that the player can more easily distinguish the different states. What you have just seen is part of the level flow of the ground floor. with the player being required to trigger the different state changes to progress through the level. I have also incorporated a pair of keys into level 2 locked doors. I am using these doors to restrict the player from areas I don't want them to access straight away. By using these techniques, I am guiding the player through the level to head in the direction that I want them to. I also incorporated the ladder into the state change, which would only be climbable in the state in the pass. To establish this ladder, I set the player's movement to flying, which allowed the player to move vertically when they collided with the trigger box, which is set to the length of the ladder. As you're about to see, there is a key item that I have incorporated in the form of a scroll, and to make the item stand out and draw attention from the player, I have used a flashing mechanic. This blue flash will let the player know that they can interact with the item. This effect is also being used on the hourglass. To create the crumbling state change, I took existing assets that were being used in the level, imported them into Maya, and then having broken up these pieces in Maya, these meshes are then re-imported, a reference to the cutscene matinee. These movement tracks are added to all the pieces and edited to get the desired effect. These are played when the change time input event is triggered by the player. A different way that I could have done this is to make references to the pieces in the level blueprint to get their location and then use a vector to move these pieces to a new location. I haven't taken this approach as this was much slower to implement compared to the matinee method. The player's goal of the game is to transition through the level using the different states to reach the attic of the mansion. In this attic would sit the painting, Salvador Dali's Persistence of Memory, implying that they are existing in Salvador Dali's dream world. To justify these mechanics together to form the passage of time, with the hourglass adding to the theme of changing time, as a response to the themes of time and decay within Salvador Dali's painting, with the addition of the post-processing to further convey a change in time and signify that this game is some kind of dream world, taking from the theme of Salvador being dreaming and hallucinating.